Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy. What's up, everyone? It's that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday show. Presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today. Today, I'm super excited because we've had Kegan on this before, but we get to actually talk about something where, as we talked about last time, this was in the works and now it's finally here. So without further ado, we've got Kegan Gill, aka Smurf. He served 9 years in the U.S. Navy as an FA-18 Super Hornet fighter pilot, exiting service as a lieutenant. He's a motivational speaker and authored his book titled Phoenix Revival. You can follow Smurf on all social channels, and to take a deeper dive, go scoop up a copy on Amazon and Audible. Fast note, Smurf may be his call sign, but it's not from him being 3'3". Brother, welcome to the show.
Thanks for clarifying that. I'm 3'6", actually.
Well, I wasn't sure, but that's great to know. So I'm so proud of you and super excited. This book right here, before we even dive into this thing, and I know it's been a long time coming, this cover, it explains a lot about your journey. And so you want to dig in real quick about this cover?
Yeah. So Bryce Hansen, who we both know from the 7X Project, freaking incredible artist. He reached out to me actually prior to this book becoming a reality, and he wanted to actually use some images of me for a themed pieces he was doing, the sort of screaming into the void. And he had, he had some digital images he had of me. And then a while later, I was thinking about how to make a cool cover for this thing. And I remembered that Bryce had some images of me that he had been transforming into a painting. And so I reached out and said, hey, Bryce, would you be interested in doing the artwork for the cover of my book that's coming up? And he was stoked to do so. He ended up painting one of these digital images that you see on the cover there. And so that's a hand painting by Bryce. And then the publishing company took the background that Bryce had created and kind of enhanced it in a way that would fit on a book cover more and kind of make it pop off the shelves. But for the most part, that painting on there is Bryce Hansen's handiwork, which I'm so stoked how it came out.
It's so wild. It's so cool. All parts considered. And it does, as we tap into this conversation, it explains a lot about your journey of being an aviator and finding your path outside. So let's dig in, man. Starting with becoming an author. That's always a very interesting hesitation that takes guys sometimes years and years and years to say, I got to do this. But just meeting you the first time, I knew that you were just such a kind-hearted individual who your story, you were so humble. Nobody on the trip knew your story fully until you started sharing. And it was like, whoa. So dig in. What was the impetus to you wanting to author this book?
Yeah. I was fortunate to survive what a lot of other veterans and other people are going through on a regular basis. These struggles with our health conditions, especially in the world of mental health. A lot of people go off the frickin' deep end with that and they never come back. They never have the ability to articulate what just transpired. And a lot of them are living on the frickin' streets now, addicted to street drugs, living in, a cardboard box. Cause unfortunately, we have a medical system, especially in the world of mental health treatment, that just over relies on the use of pills. And those pills don't actually fix anything. They mask symptoms. And maybe they could be used in a real short-term period to get through a really hard time. But unfortunately, that's just not how they're used. They're used in a chronic way that often exacerbates. And so I was really fortunate to make it through to the other side of all that, to receive access to a whole world of healing modalities that actually treated the underlying issue that I was experiencing, which was traumatic brain injury and a PTSD diagnosis, which I really have come to believe that PTSD is largely just the symptoms of having a dysfunctional physiology of your brain. And so when I came out the other side of this, I had this calling that was I need to share this story because there's a lot of other people going through this in silence. There's countless other veterans that get just crushed by the system, that lose their everything, their careers, their families, everything. And I wanted to share what it's like and why that happens, even to the most motivated people you can imagine. I can't tell you how many SEALs and Green Berets and Rangers and MARSOC, these guys that are just super hard charging good humans that want to do well and be of service, that have accomplished some of the most incredible feats that humans can endure, just the training a lot of these folks go through. And then not to mention what they spend decades oftentimes doing in their careers. And then to see people like that torn apart. And then there's kind of the system that kind of points the finger at them, like, oh, look at them. Now they're a drug addict. Now they're homeless. And it's sad. And I wanted to send something out there so people really understand from a firsthand perspective what the hell is going on. And then more importantly than opening people's eyes is also just providing something that can be a guide for people that are going through their own struggles. Now, you don't have to have been ejected from a jet or blown up by an IED or thrown out of a helicopter or Humvee, in combat, or, to experience a lot of these similar things and a lot of the health issues that are plaguing our society right now. And it's dragging us all down, Maybe some of us are in better health than others, but man, it's taking a toll on our society. And I wanted to provide something to lift people out of that darkness, to one, inspire them, and then put them back at the reins of their own health. You get to be the captain of your own ship of health, as my friend Andrew Marr likes to say. He's a Green Beret that used to run Warrior Angel Foundation. That was one of the first nonprofit organizations that actually got me access to a whole different way to treat brain injury that really started to turn my life around. But that was kind of the inspiration for doing it and my goals with doing it. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't really a particularly good English student when I was in high school and things, but I just started typing it. In the evenings when my kids had gone to bed, I would just sit and I'd type for an hour or two. Sometimes I'd type all night, like if it was flowing, but I just kind of consistently stuck at it. And after about 9 months, I had a 60,000 word manuscript. And, over the years that went through a lot of chopping and editing and improving. And then eventually I found a publisher. And I had a pretty wide variety of different considerations when looking at publishers. I know I talked to you. I talked to everybody I knew that had written a book and like what they recommended for how do I turn this manuscript, which I guess when you write a book, you kind of think that just writing the damn thing is going to be the hard part. But there's this whole other part that's just as much work, if not more, which is getting that thing published and getting it out to the world. And so I was clueless on how to do it, but just like anything in life, you just kind of figure it out as you go and talk to good people. And luckily I knew a ton of folks like you, Bird, that had gone through that journey already, that was willing to kind of allow me to pick your brain. And I talked to people that had gone with big publishers with this expectation that if you go with a big publishing company, they're going to really represent you and they're going to have a huge marketing budget behind you. And in exchange, you give up the rights to your story. You give them the lion's share of the profit for each book. And so I've just talked to too many people who felt very let down by that. And we're barely getting pennies on the dollar of each book sale that didn't get a big marketing budget. If you're already a big name out there and people know you, yeah, they're going to put some money behind you because they know it's going to sell. But if you're a first-time author that hardly anybody's ever heard of, man, it's just a good way to kind of lose the rights to your book. There was an organization called Dead Reckoning Collective. It's a veteran publishing company that's out there that I talked to those guys. I'd met Tyler Carroll, the founder of that company. Actually, he went through the same TBI treatment I did down at Resiliency Brain Health in Dallas. And we really hit it off and got talking about how he ran a publishing company. And I was like, oh, well, that's funny. I've been writing a book. He's like, all right, well, when you get that thing done, let us know. And I did. And they were awesome. And I initially thought I was going to go with them, but the timeline that it was going to take was going to be pretty long. And so I really wanted this to get out. Coming from a place where I'm just getting back on my feet, I really needed to accelerate the process, which is why I eventually decided to go with a hybrid publishing company called Ballast Books. And while I had to pay for their services up front, it was really an investment in myself and my belief that this book was important enough to do so. But by doing it with a hybrid publisher, I get to keep the rights to the book. I make the vast majority of the lion's share of each book sale, and I got control of the publication process completely. They would make suggestions, but I got to be in charge of the show. Where you go with the big publisher, they could have easily, taken some of the really crucial points out of the book that I wanted to get out there. So I've been really pleased with going with Ballast. They really helped make the cover come to life. They helped with the editorial process, from the developmental edit to the line edits and all the details that went into that, to just the layout of the pages, the cover art, and then just helping me get this thing onto Amazon and print it and distribute it and create the Audible, everything. They really helped. It's kind of the best of both worlds of self-publishing and then going with a mainstream publisher. But
wow,
now it's a real thing. So
it is a real thing. It is sitting here on my desk, and of course, got to get the hardback to make it official. Go on the bookshop after tapping into it. The aftermath of naval aviation's fastest survived ejection. And while that is the case for you, that's not just the only story in there, and that's
not
what's
at
so
all
special. You want to talk?
That's,
you want to talk? I don't want you to give away too much. I want people to get into the book and just be like, wowed, because you will be a known name in every community, and not very long from now, because one, your story is so compelling, but two, it's who you are as a beacon to people today and how you attract people to you to understand that, man, you really can get through the hard times in your life, because I don't know anybody who's been through as much as you have. I really don't. And I know a lot of people who've been through some hard times. So just give us a couple things on what is in this book, from maybe your rejection to finding some peace, like telling us the specific maybe moment or the time frame that it shifted for you when you knew you could grab a hold of the darkness and then run through it to find the light. Just a few things that we can share with the audience to get them excited.
Yeah. I mean, so there's sort of this ejection story that's this sort of big, like you can imagine it as like a Hollywood blockbuster action film, that portion of it. And I kind of put that out front, but then you can kind of see there's a psychedelic theme with the cover that's kind of like, oh, there's more to this than just your standard military experience. And I really wanted that big, crazy story of surviving this near sonic ejection at 695 miles per hour to kind of bring the reader in, to get them stoked, like, oh, this is going to be like a cool story. But then the really important part of this book is the journey that took place after that, which was dealing with a huge variety of health ailments, from, all these surgeries and trauma, my skeleton, broken neck, nervous system damage, like dealing with the physical rehabilitation. But even more important than that is sort of the mindset and mentality that was developed by going through such hardship. Being told I would never walk or use my arms again and never fly again. And there was really these crucial moments in there where I got to make a conscious decision, and we all get to do this. We get to choose whether we bite off on the negativity and the doubt and the fear that's crushing us, maybe whatever dark spot we're in. There's that overwhelming sense of dread that you can just be stuck in, like this is hopeless. But in each moment, you get the opportunity to try to see some little kernel of hope, some little speck of light, some little ember, and then you feed that. And there were multiple times through this journey where I opted consciously to feed that little kernel of hope and build it. And while it was almost nothing to begin with, when you start to feed that, you start to visualize yourself doing better, and you start to work towards that goal with consistent effort and discipline. It's really incredible what the human mind and body can overcome. And this isn't something that's unique to me. It's something that's within all of us, this sort of incredible resilient nature of the human spirit that we all share. That really got me through some incredible hardship. And so that's really where the book goes into a deep dive is how can you cultivate that within yourself? And then what are some practical steps and guidance and resources for you to help yourself on your journey? And, there's a whole lot of good stuff in there about that. Like this can really apply to everybody, no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark of a situation you think you found yourself in, there's always this hope. And if you choose the light, you can cultivate that. And it's not saying it's going to be easy. It's not going to say it's not going to last a lot longer where you're dealing with hardship and challenge, but realize that's shaping you into something more. There's a quote I love by Carl Jung, which is, in order to grow to reach the heavens, we have to have roots that have been deep into hell. And the harder the hardships we go through in life and the bigger challenges we face, while they can be, awful to go through, and we can be wondering, why me? Why is this happening? I didn't deserve this. Instead, if you see those as lessons, that it's preparing you for something greater. I really have truly grown thankful for the horrific experiences I've been through, because it shaped me into the person that I am here today. And I get the opportunity to share this with other people and help lift others up. So by being through hardship, darkness, you're only getting the opportunity to grow that much higher and to have that much deeper sense of gratitude and enlightenment and connection with the world. And I truly believe that the happiness that's within us grows in the mud, just like a lotus flower. The beautiful lotus flower grows out of the darkness in the mud. And that's a huge theme in the book as well.
What for everybody listening? So both Kegan and I are from Michigan, so we got to give it up for a shout out to Mich for the great state that nobody talks about. So
it's a secret. It's a well-kept secret.
Yeah, no, right. So you'd mentioned psychedelic. I mean, was psychedelics the thing that was the impetus for you to cross over, or was it something before that? Really, what took you into that place where you could start to move forward?
Yeah, it was a combination of things that really helped. I think the psychedelics were a huge benefit and an accelerator of the healing process in that. But really, at the heart of all this, it came from a conscious decision from within myself to get better. I had every reason at points in this to put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger. And I really almost did. As unfortunately, 22 to 44 plus veterans a day are doing to themselves. And when you're in those dark places, it just seems like that makes sense to end the suffering. But in that moment, there was a choice, and I chose to seek a different route, to try to figure out something different. After years of struggling in the conventional mental health system through the VA, after struggling on all these psychotropic meds that had been prescribed to me, living inside a VA inpatient psych facility, living in a frickin' loony bin, even after all that, I was fortunate to see that maybe there's a different way forward. And what really opened my eyes was the book called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. And it's a book that talks about the use of psychedelic-assisted therapy for healing trauma and mental ailments. And when I found that book, I realized this might be the way. And I found there was a huge amount of resistance. I mean, from my family, from the VA psychiatrist, these people are like, someone who's dealing with mental health should not do psychedelics. It's dangerous. You could go into psychoses. But in my mind, the far greater danger was being trapped in this state of just deep depression, bitterness, resentment, anger, and just not feeling positive emotion anymore. That's not living. And so I knew after years of doing what the so-called professionals were telling me, the people that were supposed to be experts on this, condoned by the medical system, doctors, physicians, psychiatrists, I was doing what they were saying. It wasn't working. And so I luckily still had the mental capabilities, and being a bit of a rebel at heart, I I just wanted to say, fuck those guys. I'm doing this differently. And that's really the most crucial part of this story, was just willing to do something different when you see it doesn't work. But the psychedelics absolutely were eye-opening. To use Michael Pollan's analogy from his book, it's like a fresh snowfall over the ruts of all these negative emotions and behaviors that have become our personality. And then you get the opportunity to be at the top of that mountain with your skis on, and you get to take a new line down the mountain of your life. And you can do a psychedelic, and you can go right back into your old habit patterns. You can go right back into your old lifestyle, and you're not going to get much from it. It might actually make you worse. It might just allow you to even deepen those ruts of negativity. But when you do it with preparation, so preparing your body through getting as healthy as you can through your lifestyle, prioritizing your sleep, your nutrition, your hydration, your exercise, your connection to nature, your connection to others, when you can come in with this foundation and then experience the psychedelics and then integrate that experience to continue to develop yourself on the backside and continually to move yourself in a positive direction. And it's not linear. There were times after the psychedelics that, shit hits the fan again, and there's bigger challenges that you face. But you know what? You're maybe just a little bit more ready to deal with them. And that continued for years of this really challenging situation to rebuild not only myself, to reconnect myself spiritually, mentally, physically, and then to rebuild my family that had just been through a freaking nightmare, and rebuild my life. It was profound change. And I think people are really going to enjoy reading the journey in detail. And I think there's some good stuff in the book that can really help you.
Yeah, there's no question. You touched on a topic that got me pretty emotional, because you said, there's times where I could have put a gun in my mouth and just pulled the trigger. And, had you done that, then I wouldn't have a friend. All of our team from 7X wouldn't have this new awesome friend. And we're so grateful that you are here in our lives. And so for people listening, if you are struggling, you've got so many people around you that love you and want to see you succeed. And you just got to take that first step. And I implore you to go and just grab a copy of the book if you are struggling to learn about resilience. This is so important because people want you around, and there's always a way. So thanks for sharing that, man. That's, of course, very powerful stuff.
Of course, yeah. It can really, when we get into those depressed states, especially after years of struggling, you can really feel that you're alone. And it's natural to isolate yourself when you're like that. And to feel, and I remember being there. I thought nobody cared anymore. Nobody wanted me around. I'd actually be doing the world a favor by removing myself from it. But the truth is, my family needed me. My kids needed me. My friends needed me. And when I finally reached out for help, which is maybe one of the hardest things to do, is just say, I need help. This isn't working. Please help. The outpouring of support was tremendous. As soon as I started to share what I was going through openly, I started to receive help. Yeah. And that was a massive turning point. Maybe bigger than the psychedelics was just saying help. And that's something that we are all capable of doing.
Yeah,
as
we're
difficult
designed
as it can seem.
Yeah, to help. I have been there myself, and it is very tough. But you get to a point where you just can't. You can't hold back anymore. It's just too much. And we're a communal society. No matter how it looks on paper or on the news or whatever, we are a communal society, and you just put the word out, and the troops will come running in to help. So, yeah, this is good stuff, man. I love the rendition of the fighter pilot to the Phoenix rising from the ashes, which is such a cool thing. We dealt a lot with that, with the burn survivors at Sons of the Flag, it's the Phoenix. And so there's just so many things about this. Like I cannot tell you how excited I am to get into this book and learn the details, because this comes straight from your mind, comes straight from your story. And I remember as people were walking on the plane in different locations, I mean, obviously during 7X, I was completely delirious. We're like, hey, Kegan?
You had a lot going on.
Oh my gosh. But you're like, hey, do you hear Kegan's story? I was like, yeah, a little bit. And they're like, And so people are just walking around and then they're telling others like, hey, and I could see him like tell somebody and then that person would immediately start walking towards you. And I'm like, you could give this guy some sleep or what? You can just make him share a story 25 times. So
I was happy to share it, man. And
it
there
was
were some
awesome.
other incredible humans with incredible life experience on that trip too, man. Like that was an incredible thing that you did with that cohort, man. It's a really powerful friendship and network of people to be part of that's really helped me along my journey and getting back on my feet and connected me to some incredible opportunities.
Yeah. Well, we were all fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
We're all working on trying to make the person happier, healthier, more holistic, find their footing and really live the rest of their life in peace and tranquility and happiness as opposed to all the stressors and the stuff that's thrown at us. One of the things that I learned in psychedelic medicine, because around that time that I'd met you, I went through my first experience and it basically told me that I was focusing on all this stuff that was stressing me out, and all the stuff that was stressing me out was stuff that I created. And it was like, it's not real. And it was so hard to hear that because I'm like, oh, no. That's not how it works. That's not how it is. That's not the deal. Like, this is real. And as you start to peel back that layer, you're like, wow, like, why am I stressing over sending an email today? Why can't it go out tomorrow? Why is that so important? Like, this stuff needs to just, so it paused me dead in my tracks. And it was so grateful for that. Now, I've not been through what you have been through, but we have our each, and this is something I do want to share as well. There's a lot of times where people will say, well, I haven't been through what you've been through, Bird, so it's different. It's not different
Yeah.
because
You can't compare traumas,
you
man.
can't. Trauma to you is trauma to you. Trauma to me is trauma to me. What I know is what I know. What you know is what you know. And that can feel just the same and horrific. So,
No doubt. And
um,
even worse, a lot of times, I think there's people going through smaller, it may be a seemingly smaller trauma. And for that reason, they don't think it could possibly relate to these, big traumas. But no, that shit can be more insidious and more harmful because you won't even acknowledge that it was a trauma. And so you never deal with it. You
yeah.
never heal from it. And that just festers and lingers and drags you down. And so you can't compare trauma, man. We all go through shit. We all go through hardship.
Talk to me about the response of the book so far.
Yeah, the response has been largely positive. There's been some really good reviews going on Amazon. If you read it and you like it or not, please leave a review on there. That helps this thing get visibility, and I really like the feedback. But it's been very positive, and I'm excited that it's done so well. It's already an Amazon bestseller on the military, or not military, but nautical and aviation biographies. It outsold Elon Musk's new book for a few days at least. I think it's actually right about tied with him and about the #2 position. So it's doing really well. I didn't have a huge marketing budget, to go out and like buy a spot in the New York Times. All the stuff that you think is like this prestigious thing because it's the best book out there. There's like no meritocracy left in the world of book publishing, music, film. Like all of it's just pay to play. You want to be a New York Times bestseller? I'm sure there's some like quality level, quality requirements, but it's really, you write $100,000 check to the New York Times and now you're a New York Times bestseller. You want to do a TED talk, it's not because you have the best idea. They might want an idea that they're interested in, but you pay them for that. You pay them $5,500 for 100,000 views. You pay them $25,000 for 2.5 million views. It's really, and even social media is kind of going that way.
Yeah.
Social media is just, it's not the days where anybody could just go viral. Occasionally that happens, but it's no longer this sort of free system that it once was. It's again, pay to play. Even book awards, you basically buy a book award. So I decided I didn't want to deal with that stuff. And maybe someday if this thing starts bringing in big bucks, there'll be a return on investment worth doing so. And I'll have the financial means, but I'm a long ways from that at the moment. So I've largely just opted to try to get this thing to grow organically through my little following on social media to podcasts with good folks like yourself that can help get this word out.
That's awesome, man. What is your personal favorite story in this book?
Um, man, there's a lot of good ones. I think one of the hardest hitting ones is what I experienced in the inpatient psych facility. And while it's a really, really dark chapter, it kind of exposes what's going on in those places in a way that I think is really valuable for people to hear about, and that how broken that system is truly abysmal, and it's almost criminal. Like, I mean, the things that are done to people in a psychiatric facility are not healing. They are more traumatic than anything. And it's to drive them onto a pharmaceutical based protocol that profits the pharmaceutical industry, that effectively controls the VA, and so gets to dictate the policies that are implemented at these kinds of facilities. And this goes for most state facilities and public facilities for civilians for mental health as well. It's effectively controlled by the pharmaceutical industry, and so it favors protocols that drive you onto their products and keep you on them for the rest of your days. And it's not to heal you; it's to profit off of you. And I think that's one of the most important chapters. And then the chapter that goes into my healing experience through the use of indigenous medicines is really uplifting and positive. And I think people will really enjoy that because it's so much more positive than that mental health journey, at least in the psych facility. But there's some really powerful stories in there. It's hard to pick just one.
Okay.
I think they all kind of work together to create a really powerful story.
Well, I mean, the psychedelic, which you say the medicinal medicine, I mean, the journey, a lot of people are scared to do it. I was terrified to do it. I didn't want to. I didn't think at the time I needed it. It had been so long since I had been out. But this is also a way to show people through your transformation that this, in fact, is not what has been the mainstream media about this stuff for generations, and that this is actually the better way. And
it's the original medicine, man. This is indigenous medicine, psychedelics, whatever you want to call them, entheogens. They've been part of human society since prehistory. We're actually in an unusual time right now that they're not part of our culture. And now, does this mean that we just need to legalize everything and you can buy it at 7-Eleven? No, because in America right now, the state people are in, it would be a disaster. But when done in a ceremonial space with medical support by people that know what they're doing, given it the proper dosage, with preparation on the beginning and then integration on the backside, these substances, these plants, fungi, animal medicines can be life-changing in such a positive, beautiful way. And there's a tremendous amount of stigma and fear-mongering from the drastically failed war on drugs that's kind of plagued our country over decades now. I think there's a lot of people with that still in the back of their minds. Like, these are something to be feared. And when you go through the process, it can be terrifying. It can show you things that are the hardest things that you've ever had to confront, but it shows you what you need to see in order to heal and move forward, as hard as that may be. And I'm not saying that these are an easy thing. I'm not saying that they're for everybody even, but this sort of fear and stigma that's been built up around these things is really unwarranted. These are absolutely to be treated with respect and done in the proper ways. If you just go buy a baggie of it or whatever off the street, disastrous things could happen. I mean, there's freaking fentanyl laced in everything these days. But if you can get a good source, if you can get into some of these programs, if you can afford the travel to get somewhere and do this, it's becoming more and more available. There's a lot being done to make this stuff more accessible. And there's really a revolution, I think, kind of occurring right now with this stuff that has the power to transform our society for the better.
No question about it.
If we can get 8 billion people or whatever is 9 billion people on the planet now, and more of them are becoming more conscious and aware and get the view that these things give you, reconnecting you to something greater than yourself. I mean, the transformational power of that is maybe exactly what our society and our planet needs right now to heal from this sort of frickin' darkness that seems to just be consuming us.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I mean, the first time I did it, I was terrified, and it was a very difficult experience, but I got so much out of it. And a year later, I went back to do it again because at that point I had zero fear. I knew what we were getting into. I knew what it was about. And this time was for me to open up completely, get deeper, and to learn more. And I'm beyond grateful for that. It's definitely an accelerator that I wish that was more public when I got out of the service 12 years ago. Now 13. So I'm grateful that you're shedding light on it in such a positive way. And I'm grateful that you're doing stuff with it. You're actually bringing people to retreats. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I last year I spent about 6 weeks living down in Costa Rica, helping out at a Iboga retreat facility called Awaken Your Soul. And through that, I got to experience some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life, which was getting to be there as people went through their own medicine journey with Iboga, which is a really powerful psychedelic from a West African shrub, the Iboga plant. And it's what they make ibogaine out of, which has become a big time psychedelic that people are using, especially for dealing with addiction issues and severe trauma. But in that time there, I got to see just the power that these medicines have, not only on myself, but then to see other people and help them go through that journey was incredible. And I just found out that there's a facility called Beyond, operated out of Cancun, Mexico. They're maybe one of the most prominent psychedelic-assisted therapy retreat centers out there now. They're starting to create a veteran program. And they're able to fund that through their profit side of the business and bring in veterans and spouses and people that maybe don't have the means to afford the price tag to get down there and have this experience and help people like that get through. So I'm going to go down there, I think, end of February, beginning of March, and get to see the program, and then hopefully start coaching people and maybe get to go down there and help facilitate as they go through their medicine experiences. Absolutely stoked to do that. I was fortunate to get to spend this summer advocating for psychedelic assisted therapy down in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, the FDA shut it down. We were trying to get MDMA assisted therapy for PTSD available. And despite having phenomenal results in the studies, no surprise, the pharmaceutical industry effectively controls the FDA, and they don't want competition. So it was shut down for reasons that were pretty bogus, but it kind of shows where they stand, and we know where we stand. And luckily, Texas has taken the charge right now with Governor Rick Perry, and getting this stuff out there because they've experienced the healing power of ibogaine and where these medicines could take us. And I think there's a freaking tidal wave coming to this stuff that's going to just overwhelm the established system. Hopefully in a positive way.
I guarantee it. I'm pretty sure that once this gets legalized, and I'll talk specifically about ibogaine because I know about it, I don't believe that there will be a real need for AA. I really don't. Drug Addicts Anonymous, because it really is. I mean, it was used in the 50s to treat heroin addiction. And so it's incredible that, you don't even know that this stuff was being done back then. Here's something that could stop it in 24 hours. Now, of course, you got to go into the medicine sober, but in 24 hours, it crushes that impulse to want to go get high. Holy shit.
Completely resets the dopamine system.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. So amazing to you, my brother, that you went through such a dark place, and you are here right now at the top, now helping others go through their darkness into light. Amazing. Absolutely so happy for you.
Like you, man, it's sort of the natural progression of that experience. You've been through incredible trauma and come out the other side of it. And by doing that, you get this overwhelming sense to try to help others. It's just sort of, that's part of the process, I think.
Yeah. Well, we understand each other and we understand them.
Absolutely.
Like can't understand a drug addict unless you've been one. Can't understand somebody who's got any of these different diseases until you've really been there and had that or done that. So It really does. And for us, we're mission focused. We're military guys. We got to have a mission that's bigger than us. Got to stay forward focused. If I go backwards, I'm in deep shit because I know me.
Yeah. It gives you a sense of purpose again, for sure.
Yeah, man. Tell me what, you live in Michigan. You got a surfboard on your back wall. What's going on here? Talk about that.
Yeah. There is surfing in Michigan. It's a secret. And this time of year, you got to wear about 7 mil wetsuits and gloves and booties and hoods, but you can surf this time of year. I prefer to go in September when the water's still warm and, the wind swell starts coming in for the fall is freaking awesome. But this is actually a surfboard that I built. I had a friend, Leo Perez. He's a SARC. I think that's Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman. I probably screwed up that acronym, but basically he's a combat medic with the SEAL teams. Okay. And like super badass dude. He's the kind of guy that can freaking perform like open heart surgery with a rubber band while getting shot at,
Love those guys.
Anyway, when I was kind of going through my healing in Virginia Beach, him and I were in sort of a mutual group of friends that would go surfing together. And one day after surfing, he brought me this big block of wood and he's like, happy birthday or whatever it was. And I was kind of like, I think both of us were kind of like, I don't know why you're giving me this. Like I wasn't a woodworker, but I decided to start turning it into, I got a little lathe and I started carving these little smoking tobacco pipes. And I came back one day to the surf and I gave Leo one of these freaking just beautiful carved pipes from this wood that he had acquired on one of his deployments. I don't know how he got it back. Smuggle it in a Connex box or something, but
I know how.
But it's that if you can see the little sunshine in there, that's a piece of it. It's like this just beautifully patterned, super hard wood. But that's kind of what got me started into woodworking. And I found out that actually the guys at Dam Neck have like a full up wood shop on base, and guys have found woodworking to be really therapeutic. And I absolutely found it to be the same by it focusing your attention on something that you have to be so aware of in order to, one, not fuck it up and not cut your fingers off with the saws or chisels or whatever. But that evolved, over time. I was building furniture and then eventually these hollow wooden surfboards that once constructed, I fiberglass them and epoxy them and put fin boxes in them. Sometimes I'll put just glassed on fins, and they look they look awesome. They surf really well. And now I've just been making them for a number of different friends. I haven't made one in a couple of years now, but it was definitely a healing modality that I really valued, especially when I was going through the mental health stuff. And then just to have something that you've created with your hands is kind of the opposite of much anything we get to do in the military. Just creating something was really therapeutic.
That is awesome. Well, you are hearing it here, folks. So when this goes live, just know that I will be the next one that you make a board for. I want to commission that right now because my wife wants a surfboard in our house on us one wall, and she's been talking about it for a couple of years now. So this is so exciting. We're commissioned. Let's go.
It'd be an honor to build you one.
That'd be amazing. We'll talk offline about that. All right, everybody, check this out. Phoenix Revival. Go pick up a copy on Amazon and Audible today. Make sure when you read it, go write a review. And make sure it's a good one. Don't be an asshole because there's nothing bad about this book. It's awesome. Or we'll punch you in the face. And then...
Yeah, I got friends that can hunt you down like Bird and his buddies, man.
Indeed. Yeah, we got smiles. We also got something else. So, and then most importantly, if you're a company or people out there who hire people for speaking, consider Kegan to actually come out and speak to your group because I've spent a lot of time with him. It is amazing to be around him, not just his talks, but his aura, his presence, and the way that he can stop and listen to people and he can connect with you at your level. And that's a very, very important thing. So when thinking about your next speaker, choose Kegan, and we'll put his information out after this show so that you can get in touch with him should you want to have him come in to speak. Or I heard he's a pretty good dancer. I think he's a break dancer. So
I dance like a white man, which is going to be disappointing for everybody.
I take offense to that.
But I can speak. I'm good at that. More of a speaker than a dancer, really.
There you go. Same. Well, it's been an awesome 3-year journey knowing you, and I'm
Likewise,
so grateful to have you in my life. And I'm grateful I look at you as a beacon, man. I really do. I look at you when times start to get a little, start to dip a little bit. I revert to you and as one of my sounding boards, one of my ground or my beacons to say, hey, he's gotten through it. I can do this. And I don't think you know that, but it's true. And I'm going to continue to do that.
Means a lot, brother.
Yeah, man.
And just know that you've had a profound positive impact on my life. Bringing me into the 7X crew, man, has been life-changing on so many levels. So thank you, brother.
Man.
And know that I look up to you in the same way. I know you've been through hell.
Yeah, we're in it together, man.
You're here with a smile on your face, giving back more than damn near anybody I've ever met in my life. So I don't know how you do it all, man. I don't know how you do it all.
I appreciate that, brother. Well, I'm sure that you're going to do some pretty cool shit in the near future where we're going to have you on for a third time and we're going to talk about other stuff.
I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, man.
It's going to be good. I know it.
And one of these days in the future, in the near future, I'm going to take you up and come out to see you in ceremony and go through your program because I think it would be the apex for me is to go through with you. So, yeah, man.
Dude, that'd be beautiful.
It'll happen for sure. I just got to press my wife a little bit. She's like, the third time? You okay? I'm fine. So,
well, hey, if you're feeling good without it right now, that's a freaking awesome place to be.
I do. I feel great. At this point in my life, I'm pushing myself further, or not further away from psychedelics, but more closer to Christ. And that right there is my beacon right now. I need to learn more about Christ, have a relationship, really understand the backstory, understand the Bible, which is something I haven't done. So that's my journey right now. But there are times in life that things that are unforeseen come in that really hit you hard. And as much as I can sit and pray and talk, I need to take action myself. God gives us these choices. And that's why for me, I don't take pharmaceuticals anymore. My wife is holistic. I don't take this stuff. We don't feed our kids this stuff unless there isn't a life altering issue where it has to happen immediately.
Yep.
Unacceptable stuff. We don't need it in our lives. Our bodies are beautifully designed. So anyway, enough on that. I love you. We're going to get this out and we're going to share this to the world. And if you watch this, share this video out. Go look at all the other topic talks that Kegan has done because he gets more into his personal story on a lot of different podcasts and really take a deeper dive and then reach out to him, show him some love. Thanks for being on, brother.
Thanks for having me again, Bird. Always a pleasure.
Frogman.